Hey there, Hermano here. So a few days ago, I showed you how to install Arch Linux on VirtualBox, and today I'm going to install it on a laptop. Now, because I cannot show the display of the laptop while I'm installing, I'm going to explain you how I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to connect to the laptop via SSH so that I can show you the installation on a bigger display. So I'll show you the steps. I'll pull up my document here. So the first thing, you'll need to download the Arch ISO from the Arch Linux website and burn it to a USB sticks. There's a lot of programs you can use to do that. One is Rufus, one is Balena Etcher, and there are many others. Then you would just put the USB stick into your laptop and you will have to boot into it. Now, depending on the laptop, you might have to press F2 to enter the boot manager. You would have to press maybe F10 or F12, depending on the laptop. Once you are in the BIOS, you can select the boot menu and select the USB stick. Once selected, you will have a menu where you can choose to install Arch Linux. And when you hit enter, it will start the installation and you will get to the installation prompt. Now, if your laptop is connected to internet via cable, that's fine. You will have internet already. If you don't have an Ethernet cable, you will have to connect through Wi-Fi. So to do that, you will have to use the Wi-Fi-menu command, which will pull up a list of Wi-Fi's around you. Choose yours, enter the password, and you'll be connected. And this is what I'm going to do now on my laptop. And when that is done, I will have an IP to where I can connect with SSH. So I'll be back in a moment once I've done that. So I've done all the steps and now I'm ready to connect to my laptop via SSH with this small application called PuTTY. As you can see, I have already my IP in here. The port is selected. So I'm just going to click on open. And yes, I want to connect. And I'm going to log in here as root and put my password. And now I see my Arch installation there. So let's get started now. So there you go. Now you can see the fonts much better. So I'm going to clean up the terminal first. And since I have internet, I'm going to check this one more time with IP space A. And I see my IP is 192.168.178.43, which is perfect. All right, so I'm just going to clean up the terminal again. And the first thing I'm going to do is to synchronize the time and date. So I'm going to type in time, date, control, set-ntp, true. And there you go. Now, the next step would be to format the hard disk. So I want to see actually what kind of hard disk I have here. So I'm just going to type in shortly lsplk. And I see I have actually a NVMe SSD drive here already with 3 partitions on there. So I need to delete them first. So I'm going to use fdisk to do this. So I'm going to type in fdisk/dev/nvme 0 and 1. It's the name of my drive, and hit enter. And so I want to delete those partitions, so I will type in D and hit enter. Partition number 3, yes, default, I want to delete that. Partition has been deleted. Note that it's not final yet until I've wrote these things on the disk. So I want to delete the other one, so I just type in D and hit enter again. And delete the last one, type in D, hit enter. Partition 1 has been deleted. Okay, so now I'm ready to write these changes to the disk. So I type in W and hit enter. And I'll clean up the terminal and I'll pull up again lsplk. And as you can see now the partitions are gone. So I can now partition the disk how I want to. So again, I'm going to go in fdisk, dev nvme 0 and 1 and hit enter. So I'm going to create 3 partitions. One boot partition, one swap partition, and one home partition. So since we are on an EFI system, I have to have an EFI partition, and I'll also create a swap partition and a home partition. So to create a new partition, I just type in N and hit enter. And partition number 1, the default is 1, yes, so I just hit enter. First sector, yes, I'll accept this, so I hit enter. Now, how big is this partition going to be? I want it to be 500 megabytes, 512 megabytes actually. So I'm just gonna type in plus 512M and hit enter. You can see the program asks me if I want to delete the VFAT signature. Yes, I want to delete that because anyway, I'm going to reformat this later. So I just type yes and hit enter. Now we need to create a second partition. That will be the swap partition. So I'm just going to type again N. Default partition number 2, yes, for me it's okay. So I hit enter. The first sector, yes, that's okay. I hit enter. And how big is the swap partition going to be? So this computer has 16 gigs of RAM, and the rule of thumb is to give double of that. So I'll just type in plus 32 G for gigabytes and hit enter. And again, it asks me to remove the signature, so I'll type yes. And now we need to create the last partition, which will be the home partition. So I'm going to type in N and hit enter. Default number 3, yes, so I'll just hit enter. And default first sector, yes. And as a last sector, I'm just going to accept the default since it's the rest of the space. So I'm just going to hit enter. And yes, I want to remove the signature, and I'll type in yes and hit enter again. And there you go. Now I have to write those changes on the disk, so I'm just going to type in W and hit enter. And it's done. So I go back, I clean up the terminal here, and let me type in lsblk. And as you can see, I have the 3 partitions again created. So now we need to format them. So the first partition, the one which ends with P1, will be our EFI partition or our boot partition. So I'm going to format this first by typing in mkfs.fat space dash capital F32 on dev slash nvme 0 and 1 P1. So basically this command will create a FAT32 partition on the first partition of the disk. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to create a swap partition for the second partition. So I'm going to type in here make swap, mk swap, where on dev nvme 0 and 1 P2. That's where I want to swap to be because it's our 32 gigabytes partition. I'm going to hit enter. Now I need to activate the swap, so I'll just type in swap on dev nvme 0 and 1 P2. There you go. And last but not least, we have to partition the home partition. So I just type in mkfs.ext4 slash dev slash nvme 0 and 1 P3. And there you go, hit enter. And voila, the partition is created. So I'm going to clean up the screen again. And I'm going to pull up SBRK. So next we need to mount these partitions. So let's do that. Let's mount first our home partition. And to do that, we just type in mount slash dev slash nvme 0 and 1 P3. And we're going to mount this to the mount directory in our system. So let's hit enter. And we want to actually mount the EFI partition to the boot directory, but the boot directory is not created yet, so we have to do that first. So let's type in mkdir, make directory, space, slash mount, slash boot, and hit enter. And now we can mount the EFI partition to the boot directory. So let's do that by typing in mount, dev, nvme 0 and 1 P1. We're going to mount this on the mount boot directory. There you go. So I'm going to clean up the screen and have a look again at lsblk. And there you go. You see now the partitions are mounted. Partition number 1 is on boot, 2 is swap, and 3 is on the home partition. Perfect. So now we are ready to install the base system. So let's do that by typing in packstrap. And we're going to install this on the mount directory. And the packages I'm going to install are base, Linux, and Linux firmware. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to take a while now to install, so I'll be back when it's done. So the installation is done. Now we need to generate the FStab file. So to do that, let me clean up first the terminal. And we will type in gen FStab space dash capital U. And this is going to be on the mount directory. And we are going to append it to the mount etc FStab. And hit enter. Now, if we're going to look into the FStab file, you will see the 3 partitions mounted there. Just going to type in shortly cat mnt etc FStab, and as you can see, we have the partitions there. Perfect. So we are ready now to enter the install that we just created, and we'll do this by typing in arch-root, and the installation is on the mount directory, so I'll type in /mount and hit enter. And as you can see, the command prompt now changed. So now we are in the installation that we just installed. And the first thing I'm going to do here is to update the time zones. So I'll type in ln space -sf /user /share /zone info /Europe in my case, and /Zurich in my case. So we'll have to replace those with your information here. Then space, this is going to be written on etc local time. And hit enter. And there you go. Now we need to edit one file now in order to create the localization. So I need to install actually an editor because it's not installed here yet. I'm going to install Nano, which is a simple editor for Linux. And I'm going to do this by typing in pacman -sy nano. And I'm going to accept the packages and hit enter. And there you go. So now we can clean up the terminal. And the file we need to edit, it's under etc local.gen. So let's type in nano /etc /local.gen and hit enter. Now I have to scroll down with the arrows here, and I want to look for my locale, which is the English US. So I'll have to scroll down until you find English US. There you go. It's the first one here. .utf-8. So I'm just gonna uncomment this and then type Control O and enter to save the file, and Control X to exit this file. Now that we have done this, we can create the locale by typing in locale-gen and hit enter. And this is done. Now we have to create now the locale.comm file, and we'll have to place it in the etc directory. So let's do this by typing in nano /etc /locale.conf and hit enter. And here we are going to write in language as a lang equal to English en underscore US .utf-8. Control O, enter to save the file, Control X to exit the editor. Now let's configure the host name. To do this, we'll have to type in nano /etc /hostname and hit enter. I'm going to call my machine Arch. And Control O, enter to save the file, Control X to exit the editor. Now we need to edit also the hosts file. So let's do this by typing in nano /etc /hosts. And I scroll down with the arrows here, and I'll type in this information 127.0.0.1 tab localhost, and then double colon 1 tab, localhost again. And the last line will be 127.0.1.1 tab hostname arch.local domain, and then tab, and then the host name again, which is in my case Arch. So you're going to replace these two instances of Arch with what you chose in the host name. And then Control O, enter to save the file, Control X to exit the file. Now I'm just going to create a password for the root user in my installation. So I'm just going to type in passwd and select a new password and retype it. And there you go. Now we are going to install a couple of packages now to be able to continue the installation. So let's do this by typing in pacman-sy. So the first package is grub, the bootloader. Then we're going to install also EFI boot manager, mgr. And then we are going to install also some networking tools. So let's install network manager. I'll install also network manager applet. I'm going to install also OpenSSH. Gonna need this anyway later. I'm going to install also the table package because I probably need it anywhere later. And I'm going to install also the Linux headers. And for the networking dialog, and three more packages. One is OS Prober, one is mtools, and the other one is DOS FS tools. And now I'll hit enter and accept the default by hitting enter here and yes to proceed. So it's going to take a while to install the packages, and I'll be back when it's done. So the installation is done. I clean up the terminal. The next step, we need to install the bootloader. Otherwise, we won't be able to boot into the system. So we just installed grub. So let's install it now on our EFI partition. So let's do that by typing in grub-install space --target equal to x86_64-EFI, because that's the machine we are installing on, space --EFI -directory. And the directory where we want to install this is equal to the boot directory, what we created before. The space --bootloader -id equal grub. And there you go. Once it's done, you just hit enter. No errors reported. Perfect. After the installation, we need to configure grub. So clean up the terminal. And now we need to install the configuration file. So let's do that by typing in grub mkconfig -o. And we want to install it under /boot /grub/grub.cfg. And then hit enter. And there you go, the bootloader is installed. So now what we need to do, we need to exit our installation by typing in exit. And I'm back to the installer now. And I'm going to unmount all the partitions we just created. So I just want to type in umount -a. There are some errors here. Target is busy, that's fine. So I'm just gonna now type in reboot, and my SSH connection here will disappear, of course. And I'm going to be back when the device has rebooted into the Linux installation. So the installation was successful. Now I have to activate internet again. So the first thing I'm going to do is typing in system control start network manager. Mind the capital letters there. These are very important. And you want to type in system control enable network manager as well, so that it will be automatically enabled the next time you boot the machine. Now to select a Wi-Fi, just type into the command line nmtui. You will see a list of networks. You can select one, enter your password, and you will have then internet. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to come back when I have SSH again there. So now I am back in logged in with SSH, and we can proceed with the installation. And the next step I want to do is add a new user. So I'm going to do this by typing in user add -m capital G to the group, to the wheel group. This has to do with the sudo, we will change later. And the name of the user is Hermano, and hit enter. Now I want to change the password for Hermano, so I'm just going to type in passwd Hermano and type the new password. And there you go. Now I want to give this user sudo power so that he can change settings, he can update packages and so on. So to do that, I'm going to type in editor equal nano, and we want to edit the vsudo file. And then I'm going to scroll down with the arrows until I found the wheel group, which is here, all, not without a password, but the first one. And I'm going to uncomment this line, and then hit Ctrl O and enter to save the file, and Ctrl X to exit the file. So now we are actually ready to install the desktop environment. Before we can do that, we need to install two more components. One is the display server. Then we need to install the display manager and enable it, and then we can install the desktop environment. So let's install first the desktop server. For this demo, I'm going to install xorg, and I'm going to do this by typing in pacman-sy xorg-server, and another package is xorg-apps, and hit enter. Select the defaults, yes, enter, and proceed with installation, yes. So it's going to take a moment here, and it's already done. It's pretty fast. So I'll clean up the terminal. Next, I'm going to install the display manager. So I'm going to do this by typing in pacman-s-gdm and hit enter. Proceed, yes. So now we are ready to install GNOME. But before we do that, we need to enable actually the display manager. So let me clean up the terminal, and we'll type in system control, systemctl, enable GDM, so that when we restart the machine, it's going to boot directly into graphical environment. Hit enter. And now let's install GNOME. So I'll type in pacman-s space GNOME, and the other package is GNOME extra, and hit enter. Enter to select the defaults, enter to select the defaults, again enter, and Y to proceed with installation. So it's going to install some gigabytes here. I'll be back when it's done. So GNOME is installed now. I'll type in now reboot, and if everything went well, I'll see you on my laptop. So there you go in my laptop here. Arch Linux is installed and working properly. Let's have a look at the settings shortly. And let's go to details. As you can see, we have GNOME 3.341 and it's Arch Linux. Well, and that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more, make sure you like this by clicking the like button below and subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified of future videos. And if there's anything specific you want me to cover in Linux, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.